Coming up this weekend at McEachern High School in Powder Springs, it is the Corky Kell Classic featuring a lot of great teams around the state of Georgia, including North Gwinnett, Tucker, Norcross, Colquitt County, Sandy Creek, Carrollton, just to name a few. And joining Troup County Sports Weekly today to preview the Corky Kell Classic is Craig Sager Jr. from ScoreAtlanta.com. And Craig, how are things in Atlanta today?
They're heating up, getting busy. Always a exciting and fun week when the Corky Kell comes around.
That is correct. We'll start with the defending 6A champions, Norcross. They seem to have lost a lot of talent from last season's team as they're not ranked in the top 10 according to you guys, and they're also ranked really low in the top 10 according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. So what will be key for Norcross to have a successful 2014 season?
Norcross is all about defense, and to be honest with you, I don't think a lot of teams play good defense in 6A right now, and that's one of the reasons they've been able to win 2 straight state championships. Their offenses typically start of the season out slow. The defense will carry them, and then they'll find their playmakers on offense, and they'll get the big play to end up winning the game just because they can trust their defense. So offensively this year, they don't return a single touchdown. They don't return a passing touchdown, a rushing touchdown. I mean, they barely even return 100 yards of offense because they had 62 seniors last year and only returned 2 starters on both sides of the ball. So it's going to have to be their defense that sets the tone early and basically gains confidence in the offense. And that'll be the key. And they're playing a Tucker team that has struggled too, and they just scrimmaged Stevenson this weekend and got beat 12-0. So, I mean, Norcross, I think they're going to come out defensively and set the tone and make some plays on that side of the ball, and then they should be able to handle Tucker, in my opinion.
And the team that I'm interested to see play in this year's Classic is Archer. They're a relatively young program, and they played North Gwinnett very well in the playoffs in 2013. What is it about this Archer team that has the eyebrows of Georgia high school football fans raised?
Yeah, this Archer team basically came out of nowhere last year as a really young team with sophomores and juniors, and their region was a little down, but they came out of it undefeated, then went into the playoffs, got the first-round win, and somehow lost that game to North Gwinnett. I still don't know how they lost that one, but it's just the weapons they return on offense. They've got their quarterback, Gabe Tiller, which I think he's one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the state. He's just so smart with the football. He led his team to the Corky Kell 7-on-7 championship in our tournament this summer. And he's got a lot of playmakers to throw the ball to. He's got his running backs back. He's got Kyle Davis, South Carolina commit, who can pretty much play receiver, running back. He's got his tight end, Connor Redmond, going to South Carolina too. He's got some real good targets. And the reason they're so good right now, they've got some experience on that line, but they're just really patient. They'll match up with teams like McEachern, which a lot of people think they're the best team in Georgia right now. A game like that would be real interesting to me just because Archer has the size, they have the athletes, but just the way they operate offensively is so polished, and they're just well coached, and so they're just a really tough team to beat. And I mean, they scrimmaged Mill Creek, which we have in our top 3 this year, and it's the same sort of deal with them. They return their offensive line, they return their quarterback, and they return their playmakers, and defensively they both improve. So I think it's going to be another year of Gwinnett County domination.
And from a recruiting standpoint, other than Tucker, North Gwinnett and McEachern both seem to have a ton of talent this season. Lucky for us, they actually play to end the Classic on Saturday night. And we've seen in the past what North Gwinnett can do, but with high expectations coming into the season, as you mentioned previously, is this the year that McEachern makes it to the state championship?
Yeah, they definitely have the pieces to do it, and I think without a doubt they come out of that region this year as the region champs. And I mean, you talk about recruiting the Corky Kell. It's absolutely huge. I mean, you're going to go to these games, you're going to see Mike Boba, you're going to see Kirby Smart, you're going to see all these college coaches down there, just because what you're getting is you're getting the best players are playing for these powerhouses. And these are powerhouses that college coaches trust. Like when players come from your Brookwood, your Valdosta, it's like you know what you're getting. You're getting not only good athletes, but guys that are focused on football, guys who've seen people do it before them. So it's a huge recruiting thing. And just when you're on the field with all these other good recruits, I mean, a big performance in the Corky Kell is huge. I mean, you can go from, a team like Norcross that has all these guys that have been waiting their turn to step into the recruiting thing and been sitting behind all these 4-stars and 5-stars. When they get in this game and they start making some plays, people are going, okay, they've got this Norcross talent. They've got it too, and you're going to see another strong class. So that aspect's real exciting, and man, McEachern's got as much talent as anyone, just on their offensive line, their defense, and especially their sophomore quarterback, the coach's son, Bailey Hockman. He was a Max Preps All-American for his 2017 class, and he helped lead them in the playoffs last year. So they've got their championship caliber quarterback and definitely the playmakers to throw it to. So I like their chances this year.
And there are two teams ranked in the 5A preseason top 10 that are playing this weekend, Creekview and Kell. So out of both of those teams, who do you see going deeper in the playoffs?
Yeah, that's tough. Kell's been so great lately. I think they've won like 44 games the last 4 years, and their region, they pretty much dominate. Pope finally moved out of it, but they had beat Pope, I think, 8 times in a row, and that was their biggest competition. So, they're both going to go to the playoffs. Creekview, I would honestly have to look at what region they go up against, but I see both of them definitely winning a playoff game this year. Creekview returned a decent amount of talent from their team last year, and Coach Crowder has the playoff experience for sure back when he was at Chattahoochee, and I don't know which one's going to go farther. I don't think either one's good enough to make it past the quarterfinals at this point, but I definitely think they're both capable of 10-win seasons.
Craig Sager II from ScoreAtlanta.com joining us on Troup County Sports Weekly, and we'll now move on to two schools that we in West Georgia know very well due to their history with Troup and LaGrange High, and that's Carrollton and Sandy Creek. And we've seen in the higher classifications where a team can win a region outright, but then the second-place team in that region go on to the state championship and sometimes win it, i.e. North Gwinnett and Norcross. So when it comes to Carrollton and Sandy Creek, who has the best chance to win 5 Quad A and who has the best chance to actually go to the state championship? Because one of those schools are more than likely going to have to meet Buford at some point.
Yeah, I was about to say, who has the best chance to beat Buford? But, no, out of that region, it's so tough. Man, Carrollton had their team last year. They finally had the size. They were so solid. They just ran into a team that was on fire offensively. I've never seen sprinters like that at receiver when they played Griffin. But, Carrollton has a chance to be good midway through this season. Right now, their quarterback play is going to be the biggest question mark. And he's a game manager; he can get it done. But at this point, you're going to need someone to be able to throw the deep ball, especially in that new style of offense. And I like the speed you got with Jarvis Terrell. He broke open that 92-yard screen play in the scrimmage against West Forsyth. So definitely speed involved, but got to be able to get on the ball. And if you can't throw the deep ball, you're going to go up against some good secondaries, and they're going to be able to play more aggressive. They're going to make it real difficult for you guys. And then in terms of Sandy Creek, they lost a lot on defense, and they definitely have the athletes to be competitive. But in my opinion, I think they're running into a brick wall this weekend against Archer. I think it's a close race for the region crown this year. Sandy Creek definitely took a little step back, but it will be between those two teams.
And Coach Rush Probst, he'll enter his 7th season as head coach of the Colquitt County Packers, and they seem to have a pretty interesting road ahead this season. They play Mill Creek, of course, in the Corky Kell Classic. They'll also play Hoover from Alabama next week. And, of course, they have to go through that brutal South Georgia region, which include Lowndes and Camden County. So what are your expectations for Coach Probst and the Packers this season?
That's a tough region. I think they're definitely the best team going into it. Camden still looking for quarterback problems, and Valdosta, this looks to be another challenging year for them, just in terms of what they've had to overcome in terms of their enrollment and just trying to stay competitive in that region. And Colquitt definitely has the best chance out of South Georgia to contend for the state title this year. And we'll see how they do, but Mill Creek is going to be an incredible test for them. That's they're going against a team that returned a lot of experience, and it'll be tough.
So now we're going to look back at the actual games themselves, and you have really good games coming up in the Corky Kell Classic. Sandy Creek and Archer, North Gwinnett, McEachern, Carrollton and Kell, of course, and then Tucker and Norcross, two teams that have had history in the Georgia Dome playing for a state championship. So out of all of the games, what would you say is the number one can't-miss game of the Classic?
One I'm looking most forward to is probably Mill Creek, Colquitt County. I think that's the best game. And then the nightcap between McEachern and North Gwinnett is probably number two for me, just because that's a rematch of last year's incredible semifinals game. But to be honest with you, the Norcross Tucker one, I think that's going to be a sloppy game. Valdosta Brookwood's a lot better this year, but I'm still not impressed with Valdosta in terms of being a contender. And then second game of the day, I'm just most excited about those games.
And we can't end this interview without bringing this up. And, of course, your dad, Craig Sager, he's a well-known broadcaster, and he was diagnosed with leukemia earlier this year. And one of the steps in his recovery was actually bone marrow. So lucky for you guys, you were a match for your dad, and you went through the procedure, and the bone marrow transplant was a success. But not even a day after, on July the 4th, you ran the Peachtree Road Race. So question one, how angry were your doctors that you ran the race anyway, regardless of their orders? And two, how were things with your dad holding up?
They were pretty mad, and it's because after the transplant, I was in there, and they wanted to hold me overnight, and I was like, absolutely not. And I was having some heart problems after the surgery, so they wanted to just basically watch me the whole time. But I just asked them, I was like, are you going to be able to solve it tonight? And they're like, no. I was like, all right, well, I don't have to be there then. So I just left, and they were like, all right, well, we'll let you leave as long as you promise not to run the race. And like, I promised that I wouldn't run it. They didn't say I wouldn't jog it. And so I just woke up the next morning, and it was pretty painful, and ended up getting done with it. Cost me 14 doctor's visits after that, and had to wear a heart monitor for a week and do all this other tests afterwards. But I mean, it's worth it. Just, my dad runs it every year, I run it every year. My sister does, my mom, and they were already sad my dad wasn't doing it. And then I just felt if I didn't do it too, it would basically just ruin the whole day for them. So at least I wanted to be out there, and I ended up being a fun day. So that was awesome. And then my dad, after the transplant, he had 3 infections. The last one was pneumonia, so that takes a long time to get over, but they've got a pretty good handle on it. And the transplant went well. He's completely grafted, and the bone marrow is regrown, so he basically just has to fight off these infections, and then just a couple more months until he starts to get back to 100%.
Well, that is fantastic to hear. Craig Sager II joining us on Troup County Sports Weekly today to preview the Corky Kell Classic. That starts on Friday at 6 p.m. with Creekview and North Paulding, and also that night, 8:45, Sandy Creek versus Archer. And then a full day of games on Saturday beginning at 9 a.m. Carrollton versus Kell, 11:45 a.m. Mill Creek versus Colquitt County, 2:45 p.m. Valdosta versus Brookwood, 5:45 Tucker versus Norcross, and 8:45 the nightcap primetime game, if you will, North Gwinnett versus McEachern. If you're not able to make it out to McEachern, you can watch those games on Fox Sports South. You can follow Craig Sager II on Twitter at Craig Sager Jr. and also visit scoreatl.com for all the latest news surrounding GHSA news as well as other sports news in the state of Georgia. Craig, it was an honor to talk to you today. I feel like I've taken a lot of things away from this interview, much more smarter than I was coming in to this interview. So I just want to thank you again for taking time out of your day, and we'll see you on Friday and Saturday.
Can't wait. We'll see you guys.